Okay, good morning, algebra students. So today we are going to look at the notes for 1-3, order of operations. This might be familiar from 7th grade because we definitely covered it in 7th grade. So the acronym we're using is GEMS this year. You might remember GEMDAS or PEMDAS from a previous year. GEMS is just the newest, coolest thing. That G still stands for groupings. And keep in mind that groupings can include things like parentheses, brackets, exponents that have parentheses being grouped together like that. That's considered a grouping. And also those fancy absolute value bars. Absolute value. Just remembering you there. Keep in mind you might be remembering that absolute value is a distance from zero, meaning that since it's a distance, it will never be able to be zero. After groupings, your next step in order of operations are your exponents. Anything being raised to a power. Anything raised to a power. Like 5 to the second. Something like that. And now here, the M, this is where we took PEMDAS and kind of combined the M and the D together. This M stands for not just multiplication, it's multiplication, keyword here, or division. Oops. Multiplication or division, keeping in mind that it is whichever shows up first in order from left to right. And you might be wondering why from left to right. Well, that's because that's the way we read. We read from left to right, so we wouldn't be going the other way. And then the S, as you might have already guessed, the S stands for both subtraction or addition. And just with the multiplication and division, it's whichever shows up first in order from left to right. Multiplication does not always come before division, and subtraction does not always come before addition. It's whichever shows up first in order from left to right. All right, so let's take a look at this example 1. So following that GEMS, and maybe if it helps, maybe you're going to write that acronym off to the side so you have it to look at. Is there anything grouped together? So now this is actually a really good example because technically this giant fraction bar is counting as a grouping here because I can't divide any of these pieces up here until I have one single number. So the giant fraction bar is like a grouping. You know, I can't do that division until I've got one number up there. I do have some exponents going on, so let's go ahead and rewrite this. I've got negative 16 divided by 2 minus 5 times 2 plus 2 all over. And this is where you can be using the calculator. 2 to the third power is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 4 times 2, which is 8. So now again, before I can do that division, I've got to clear that whole top piece up, and I'm going to follow that multiplication / division first. So negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8 minus 5 times 2 plus 2 all over 8. Next step, negative 8. Negative 5 times 2 is a negative 10. Plus 2 divided by 8. So this is the point where I'm talking about that that division bar counts as a grouping, because technically that divided by 8 should be happening before any addition or subtraction. But we can't divide 3 numbers by 8, so we want to get that down to be one simple number, then deal with that division. So negative 8 minus 10 is negative 18, plus 2 more is negative 16, divided by 8, which is just good old negative 2. And again, you can be using your calculator to do this. Just make sure you're doing little bits and pieces at a time. Don't overwhelm it. Don't try to do too much in your calculator at once. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Example 2, now this guy you could put right in your calculator, and I'm going to show you how to get those absolute value bars in your calculator. So if you're looking at your calculator here, if you've got your calculator, to get to the absolute value bar, you want to press math, arrow over to number, and then you see it says ABS. Hit enter, and that gives you your absolute value bars. So inside those absolute value bars, I want negative 7 plus 4. Notice how I'm still typing inside the absolute value bars. That positive 2, I need to arrow out first, then do plus 2. Enter, you'll see I get 5. I'm going to do that math here just in case, step by step. So remember, absolute value bars count as a grouping. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3, but it's still in those absolute value bars. The absolute value of negative 3 is a positive 3, plus 2 is 5, just like we got in the calculator. Now, example 3. Thinking that order of operations, groupings first. I got stuff in parentheses I need to deal with first. 12 minus 5 is 7, and 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Don't forget to keep that exponent with you. 7, now negative 4 squared is negative 4 times 4, which is 16. And 7 times 16 I don't have memorized, 112. Which again, you also could have gotten that same answer by putting that exact expression into the calculator. Parentheses, 12 minus 5, close parentheses, open parentheses, 5 minus 9, close parentheses, squared. Boom, 112, just like we got doing it by hand. Now, last but not least, this fourth example, asking us to express our answer as a mixed number and an improper fraction. This is a hot mess that I actually would recommend you just plug right in the calculator. Don't even bother trying to do this by hand unless you really, really want to. So, fractions in the calculator, keeping in mind they need to be put in parentheses. So, parenthesis, 2 divide 3, close parentheses, plus 4/5 plus 5/6. Remember, all my fractions are in parentheses. Plus 2/7 plus 5/8. So you can see there, I typed in every single one of those fractions in its own set of parentheses, adding them all together. Hit enter, and I've got a nice ugly decimal. Remember, if you hit your math, frac, enter, enter, that will do the wonderful job of turning your answer into a fraction for you. So we got 899 over 280. So 899 over 280, which the mixed number would be, let's see here, 899 divided by 280 is 3, and then 3 times 280 is 840 minus 899 is 3 and 59 2/80ths, I think. 280 times 3 should give us 840 plus 59 gives us 99. Yep. So for this one, I'm just going to put a little note. Make sure you use your calc. because those are really ugly numbers, and who wants to deal with that? Okay? As always, make sure you try the homework problems and email me with any questions or problems.